Wednesday morning, my friends. I'm Pastor Ben Hayes from First Baptist Church, Dadeville, Alabama, bringing you our thought for the day on a wonderful Wednesday. We've got our men's and women's Bible study today. Women's Bible study starts today, so ladies, come on out and join us 10 a.m. It's going to be a great study. But we'll be starting today, this evening, 4:45, our family night supper, 5:45, prayer meeting and Bible study, kids and youth activities. I think handbell choir's back, and then at 7 o'clock, our celebration choir. So big day. Come out and join us for all of it. But right now we're in 1 Corinthians chapter 9 and picking up in verse 13. And one more day, we're going to be talking about paying your pastor, okay? Now this is important, all right? Pastors are people too. They have families. They have needs. They have a mortgage. They have car payments. They have utility payments. They need to buy groceries. All of those things that you have to do, they have to do. And it's a very good chance that most of them do not even have a retirement set up. They don't ever expect to retire. They're just going to keep on working, keep on preaching. And so it becomes tough for a lot of pastors. In church, it behooves us to take care of the men that God has placed over us in ministry. All right? Look at what Paul says, verse 13. Do you not know that those who minister the holy things eat of the things of the temple, and those who serve at the altar partake of the offerings of the altar? He's talking about the priesthood now in Judaism. The Jewish people had it right. Okay? The priests would be taken care of. From the offerings that were brought into the church, their lives were taken care of. They didn't have property. They weren't given property to grow crops on, and they were always too busy to do anything like that. Their function, their full purpose was on taking care of the temple and the systems that were in place there. And so God had provided for them a way that they could be taken care of. By the way, they also, by the time they reached 50, they had to retire, and they were still taken care of. So just a word there. Verse 14, even so the Lord has commanded that those who preach the gospel should live from the gospel. Again, pay your pastor, all right? Now, I know I've said this over and over again, and please understand, this is not a message to my church, because my church does well by its pastors, and they take it very seriously what the Word of God says. But Paul is trying to get this across, because he and Barnabas have been supporting themselves, and he's not, we'll talk about this in just a second, he's not asking the church at Corinth to do this for them. Look at what he says in verse 15. He says, but I have used none of these things, nor have I written these things that it should be done so for me. For it would be better for me to die than that anyone should make my boasting void. You know what he's talking about? He's going all the way back to that principle at the beginning of chapter 8, where he's talking about food sacrificed to idols. And if it should cause a weaker brother to stumble, then don't eat meat. That's what he says, ultimately. He's saying whatever we have to do to not cause a weaker brother or sister to stumble, we should not do it. Okay, that's the thing. That is the principle that is here. Now, some of you are saying, well, Pastor, you talking about paying the preacher and all of this stuff, that offends me. Well, you've got the wrong attitude, all right? What he's talking about here are basic principles. And we have to understand that God expects us to take care of those who are serving in the ministry. But we also have to understand that if it comes down to it, if we're willing to give up those rights that we claim for ourselves so that we would not offend those around us. Look, Paul says, verse 16, for if I preach the gospel, I have nothing to boast of, for necessity is laid upon me. Yes, woe is me if I do not preach the gospel. I used to tell people all the time, you know what? I preach for free. I preach for free because that is my calling and that is my passion. That is what I love to do. I stopped saying that because there were actually people who said, well, if that's the truth, then we're going to cut your salary. Anyway, that's a joke. Here's the thing. We preach out of necessity. We minister from a heart of passion to do what God has called us to do. And I pray to the Father, if I ever lose that passion for ministry, that he would give me wisdom and courage to retire, just to go sit on the side of the lake somewhere and do some fishing, whatever it takes. God has called us to proclaim the gospel, not just pastors, but all of us. And we should do it from the depths of our heart because we love the Lord. Think about that today. Be blessed. I'll see you back here tomorrow.